Hi there, it's Biker Mike here, and welcome to this long-awaited first adventure of 2023. Now bikepacking season has finally arrived here in Sweden, so I thought I'd head out on a couple of adventures. And this first weekend trip here is just a sort of a tune-up weekend for what's to come in the next week. I've been fortunate to have a very special guest that's visiting Sweden in the next month, and he's cycling all the way up from Kiruna down to the very southern part of Sweden in Malmö. And I think a lot of you that watch my videos probably know this guy that I'm talking about. His name is Ryan Van Duser. So I'm very fortunate to be able to ride with him for a couple of days here in about a week's time. So I thought I'd get away for a weekend to sort of warm up before that trip that's coming up here. So anyway, I took a bus here to the city of Arvidsjaur and cycled for about an hour until I found this very special place. So this place has a cabin that's free for everyone to use, although I'm not gonna sleep in it tonight because there's a lot of mosquitoes in it right now. And it also has a bird observatory right behind me here. So as I said, this bikepacking trip is for the next 2 days, and I'm aiming to make about 200 kilometers. So I'm cycling here from Arvidsjaur, taking a little detour and ending up in my hometown of Skellefteå down by the coast. So I found this nice rest stop or whatever it is up here right by the lake, so I figured I stopped for a bit of lunch. So I saw this place from the road. I don't really know what it is. It's some sort of fireplace and a small cabin beside it. And I don't know if it's a private owned place or a public one, but I think I've seen 4 or 5 cars today in the first 45 kilometers of this ride. So I'm figuring the chances of someone coming here while I'm eating my lunch is pretty slim to none. So while I enjoy my bit of lunch, I'm also gonna take advantage of the lovely view over the lake behind me here. So I've cycled about 45 kilometers so far, and the aim today is to make about 120 kilometers. Finding water on these types of trips here in Sweden is typically never a problem. But this time around it would turn out to be that way. Either it was the insane amount of mosquitoes that tried to have me for lunch while trying to filter my water, or the small creeks that I passed along the road were extremely hard to get down to, since the slopes leading down to them were covered by a lot of vegetation and bush. This time around I was lucky to find a major river, so I took the opportunity to fill up my water bowls. I had designed this route myself, but at this time I actually stumbled upon the European Divide Trail. A trail I would get a lot more acquainted with in about a week's time. bench is a little bit too small for my legs. See if I can try to squeeze him in under. So the second day has finally come to an end. I was able to find a pretty decent wild camping spot here between two small villages, right by a lake. And it's extremely mosquito rich right now. So that's why I'm in my beanie and have my jacket on. And I also switched into my merino wool long pants here. So when I get to camp, I do everything in a certain order. First of all, if I haven't eaten dinner yet, I start making that right away. They usually take about 5 minutes or so to get the water boiling, and then they have to stand and wait around for 10 minutes until I can eat them. After the water has been boiling, I switch the gas canister over to my thermocell. So in about 15 minutes time or so, the thermocell should be fully active, and hopefully there aren't any mosquitoes around in the nearest couple of meters from my tent. And while I wait for that to happen and the food to get done, I set up my tent and my sleeping pad and sleeping bag and so on. I got off to an early start on the third day. I needed to be at a certain place at noon. And that place was about 60 kilometers or 40 miles away from my camp spot. But more on that later on. I'm making a little pit stop here at Finnfors. Finnfors is an over 100-year-old hydropower plant. So every year here in Finnfors they have this day called the Day of the Fall, where they open up the floodgates of the hydropower plant and let water out for about 5 minutes, and it's really spectacular to watch. And it was worth a bit of a detour just coming here to watch the open floodgates. But it was also an excuse to have a stop for a hot dog, and I also got treated to a piece of cake afterwards. So overall, a very successful pit stop. The only bad thing about coming here is that this power station lies at the bottom of a ravine, so now I gotta climb all the way up again and start heading east towards the coast. So finally back in Skellefteå again after 2.5 days of intense cycling. And like I said in the beginning of the video, this was a sort of tune-up ride for what's to come in about a week's time, when I'm going to cycle for about 4 days along the European Divide Trail. But it gave me the opportunity to try out my new bike and see what type of adjustments I need to make upon going on that bikepacking trip. One of the biggest pointers that I'm gonna take with me from this trip is that I definitely need one more water bottle. I only brought along 2 of them this time, and with these kind of temperatures and with it being really dry in the forests, finding water sources was more difficult than usual. And while you wait for the video from the European Divide Trail, you can always watch my video from last summer when I cycled all the way up to the North Cape by clicking the link in the corner here. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one.